Hey YouTube, this is Mike from Tier 1 Tabletop, back again with another terrain tutorial for you. Today I'm going to show you how I got started on my dream project, a winter forest for Warhammer 40,000. Let's get into it. For my basing material, I used chipboard and then used a craft knife to cut them out. To give my bases some elevation, I used 1/4-inch foam core. For some natural looking rock faces, I used one of my favorite hobby materials, pine bark. I used a hot glue gun and glued them around my elevated surface. After that, I put on some fancy gloves and used wall filler to fill in all the gaps and make it one natural landform. Once it dried, I covered the entire piece in Mod Podge and put down some sand for our ground texture. For my base coat, I used black rattle can, covering the whole thing, and after that I gave what I would call a heavy overspray of brown to give some nice color variation. For the rock faces, I grabbed a gray craft paint and gave all of the pine bark a nice overbrush, so not drenching it in gray, just covering about 80% of the rock faces. I finished the rock faces with a lighter gray dry brush, and those really brought them to life. So the kind of winter forest that I wanted to make was more of a late autumn, early winter forest. I found a really gorgeous static grass from Woodland Scenics called Harvest Gold. And I used that to fill up the cheapest static grass applicator I could find on Amazon. So instead of covering the entire base in the static grass, I just did it in patches. Once that dried, I grabbed some snow flock, mixed that up with some Mod Podge, and began applying it to the bases. Again, not going for full coverage. I think all the color that still comes through makes it look really realistic. Before we get onto the trees, we have to have a discussion. The tree method that I used was one that I stole from one of my favorite YouTube channels, Eric's Hobby Workshop. This guy's a genius. You should definitely check out his work after you've watched this video. His method of trees looks really great, but boy oh boy, was it a pain in the butt to make. Eric, if I run into you at Adepticon this year in Milwaukee, I would love to buy you an old fashioned so we can talk about alternate tree construction methods. That being said, I had to get on with it, so I put on Lord of the Rings, made an old fashioned, and got to work. The method I stole from Eric involves taking a jute fiber twine, cutting it into pieces, and untwisting it until it's the sort of individual fibers. If you watched my trench video, you're going to recognize this next step. Similar to the barbed wire, I used a black gauge wire for the trunks of our trees, folded it into a hairpin, put it into the power drill, turned it on, and boom. Just like that, we have some pretty convincing looking trees. For the bark of the tree, I crumpled up some aluminum foil and used a hot glue gun to wrap it around the base. After that, I gave the trees a haircut to give them that tapered pine tree look, based them in black, gave them a zenithal of green, and then painted on the same snow mixture from the bases earlier. That's frosty. After the trees dried, I grabbed a sharp poking implement, poked holes in all the bases, and hot glue gunned the trees into the bases, and just like that, we have a pretty convincing late autumn, early winter forest grove. If you follow Tier 1 Tabletop on Instagram, you'll see that this collection has expanded greatly since this original batch of trees. We now have mountains, some cabins, some winter roads, and those will be the focus of future videos on this channel. I have to say I was extremely proud of how these trees came out and the larger set expansion in general. Having a winter forest to play in has long been my dream terrain set. And like the trench set, I put that off for a long time just because I was nervous about getting started. So again, I'm here to tell you, whatever you're putting off on your hobby backlog, just do it. I promise you it will go well. This is Mike from Tier 1 Tabletop. I hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe for more content. And hey, keep rolling.